Welcome back here, and today we share with you an overview of the complex and multifaceted journey of the war in Afghanistan, tracing the timeline from the Soviet invasion in 1979 to the U.S. withdrawal in 2021. This topic explores the decades-long conflict that had lasting impacts on both Afghanistan and global geopolitics. So what does this period entail, and why is it significant? The Soviet invasion dates back to December 1979, when Soviet troops entered Afghanistan to support the communist government against insurgent groups in a brutal conflict that lasted until 1989. Fast forward to 2001, the U.S. led an international coalition to dismantle al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban from power following the September 11th attacks. The dynamics of these invasions highlight how external powers have attempted to influence Afghanistan's political landscape over time, with varying degrees of success and failure. The significance of this topic lies in its enduring and widespread impact. Afghanistan has been called the graveyard of empires for its history of resisting foreign control, a reputation reinforced by these interventions. It serves as a testament to the complexity of foreign occupations and the resilience of national identity amidst chaos. Examples of this complexity include the Soviet experience, which ended due to international pressure and mounting casualties, symbolizing the limitations of military might. Similarly, the U.S. withdrawal underscores the challenges associated with nation-building and counterinsurgency, despite significant military and economic investment over 2 decades. Supporters of foreign intervention often argue that such actions were intended to prevent terrorism and bring stability, with varying sentiments about the outcome. Humanitarian concerns, counter-terrorism efforts, and the liberation rhetoric were focal points for such discussions. However, these views are challenged by perspectives that highlight the loss of civilian lives, long-standing instability, and the rekindling of Taliban power as the direct aftermath of disengagement. Critics argue that these interventions often failed to account for Afghanistan's unique social, tribal, and political complexities, leading to unintended consequences. Alternative viewpoints also include arguments for Afghan self-determination without foreign intervention. This history has shaped Afghanistan's internal dynamics, influencing regional security, international relations, and global approaches to similar conflicts. It serves as a case study on the limitations of military interventions and the need for comprehensive, culturally aware strategies in conflict resolution. As such, understanding this war is crucial for evaluating future international policies. Join us as we delve deeper into each of these aspects, providing a detailed analysis of one of the longest wars in modern history. Welcome back here, and today we share with you insights into a pivotal aspect of our focus on the war in Afghanistan, from the Soviet invasion to the U.S. withdrawal. This section delves into the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, a defining moment in the late 20th century. This event refers to the military intervention by the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, which began in December 1979 and lasted until February 1989. The invasion was motivated by a desire to support the communist government in Afghanistan against growing insurgent groups, collectively known as the Mujahideen, who were resisting the government's reforms and forging ties with various external powers. The Soviet invasion is crucial to understanding Afghanistan's recent history and its role in Cold War geopolitics. It marked the beginning of a decade-long conflict that not only devastated Afghanistan, but also contributed significantly to the eventual dissolution of the Soviet Union. Militarily expensive and politically damaging, the invasion caused immense human suffering and displacement, sowed the seeds for long-term instability in the region, and laid the groundwork for further conflicts, including the rise of the Taliban and the events leading to the U.S.-led intervention. 2 noteworthy instances highlighting the impact of the Soviet invasion include, first, the international response, notably the U.S. support for the Mujahideen, which included funding, weapons, and training. This support played a crucial role in prolonging the conflict and complicating Soviet efforts to establish control. Secondly, the strategic shift in Soviet policy in the late 1980s under Mikhail Gorbachev, aiming for withdrawal in response to immense national and international pressures, showcased a significant ideological and policy pivot within the Soviet regime. Supporters of the Soviet intervention viewed it as a necessary step in supporting a legitimate government against external forces. However, detractors argue that the invasion was an imperial overreach that resulted in unnecessary bloodshed and destabilization. Challenges tied to this point include long-standing controversies over the morality of foreign intervention and the long-term effects of arming insurgent groups. This aspect of the conflict connects deeply with subsequent events, as the power vacuum and ongoing strife post-Soviet withdrawal set the stage for the rise of the Taliban and the conditions that prompted the U.S. invasion after September 11, 2001. Understanding this foundational period is essential for comprehending the complexities of the Afghan conflict and the international dynamics that define it. Welcome back here, and today we share with you an exploration of the intricate backdrop of the war in Afghanistan, from the Soviet invasion to the U.S. withdrawal. We begin with setting the context of Afghanistan's war landscape. To truly understand the complexities of Afghanistan's history, it is essential to recognize it as a nation characterized by diverse ethnic groups, rugged terrain, and strategic geopolitical significance. This context has continually shaped Afghanistan into a theater of conflict, drawing in external powers like magnets to iron. The setting of Afghanistan's conflict-riddled landscape is vital because it lays the groundwork for understanding why this nation has been the focal point of military, ideological, and geopolitical interest. The Soviet invasion in 1979 marked the start of a prolonged struggle as the USSR sought to uphold a communist government against resistance from Mujahideen fighters. This period illustrated both the resilience of Afghan fighters and the extent to which global powers would involve themselves, laying the foundation for future interventions. One significant example is the U.S. involvement during the Soviet-Afghan War, where American support to the Mujahideen was pivotal to countering Soviet forces. Another is the subsequent rise of the Taliban, which can be traced back to the chaotic power vacuum post-Soviet withdrawal, illustrating the continuous impact of external interventions and internal strife. Supporters of examining Afghanistan's war landscape often argue that understanding the historical and geopolitical nuances is crucial for any future foreign policy or peace-building measure involving the region. They emphasize the importance of learning from past engagements to avoid repeating the same failures. However, potential challenges arise when considering alternative viewpoints. Some argue that focusing on historical context may overlook the present human and social developments in Afghanistan or may inadvertently justify foreign interventions. Furthermore, there's a tension between respecting national sovereignty and preventing human rights abuses within the country. The understanding of Afghanistan's war landscape is intricately connected to every phase of the conflict discussed in the main topic. It helps explain the motivations behind each invasion and withdrawal, the enduring cycle of conflict, and the geopolitical tug-of-war that continues to influence Afghanistan's future. By setting the context, we gain valuable insights into how past actions reverberate through present circumstances, shaping Afghanistan's path forward. Welcome back here, and today we share with you an exploration of the war in Afghanistan, from the Soviet invasion to the U.S. withdrawal. We focus on a pivotal aspect of this complex topic, the shifting geopolitical landscape that underscored the conflict's evolution over decades. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 was a significant turning point in Cold War geopolitics. It marked the Soviet Union's attempt to support the communist government in Afghanistan against insurgent groups. The broader context was the Cold War, where the U.S. and its allies opposed Soviet expansionism, fearing it would tilt the global balance of power. The importance of this event is profound as it set off a chain reaction, drawing the U.S. and its allies into a prolonged conflict characterized by proxy warfare. This geopolitical struggle played a significant role in shaping subsequent Afghan conflicts and laid the groundwork for the conditions leading to the eventual U.S. intervention. As examples, during the Soviet-Afghan War, the United States supported the Mujahideen, providing them with financial and military aid to counter Soviet forces. This support inadvertently empowered militant groups that later evolved into entities like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Another instance is the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan following the September 11th attacks, justified as a necessary move to dismantle terrorist networks and prevent future attacks on American soil. This intervention, however, led to a prolonged military presence that concluded with the withdrawal in 2021. Opinions on these events are varied. Proponents argue that opposing Soviet expansion was necessary to contain communism during the Cold War. Critics, however, contend that the empowerment of extremist factions had long-term negative consequences, destabilizing the region further. The challenges surrounding these interventions highlight significant controversies. Critics point to the human cost of the prolonged conflict, the empowerment of radical groups, and the question of whether true stability or democracy was ever achievable in Afghanistan. Alternative viewpoints emphasize the Soviets' initial aim to stabilize an allied government, though it spiraled into an unwinnable war. This point connects intricately with Afghanistan's internal dynamics and influences the global fight against terrorism. Geopolitically, it underscores the significance of Afghanistan as a battleground for international interests, a reality that shaped not just regional politics but also global diplomatic strategies around intervention and withdrawal. Understanding this historical context is vital for grasping the complexities of the Afghan conflict and its enduring impact on international relations.